Greetings to everyone. It is a very important period in the evolution of our society and evolution of this world. And I know that aviation has been severely challenged, but those that are here today, we all strongly believe that with reinventing itself, aviation will find a way forward and continue to lead as a sector in this evolving world. The future of aviation is now. That's my core message today. And let me walk you through 5 key global trends that I picked for the impact that they will have on aviation as well. First of all, I do believe that we are facing also a civilizational paradigm. Many people think, oh, that's too big. How did you come up with that? But just take a look at the development of the last 5,000 years, and you will see that there is a cycle, and we are entering this cycle again and entering a new civilizational paradigm. And aviation is asked to follow these trends and to monitor the changes that will come, because with every civilizational paradigm, a big technological shift happens. With every civilizational paradigm, a new reorganization of social structures happen, and completely new models evolve. So as a follow-up to this big chapeau megatrend, I propose to monitor 4 more. First, the key shared global challenges, which of course we cannot overlook. The first one, the climate change. And this climate change is bringing the world together. And this is probably one of the most enabling topics currently in leading this civilizational paradigm as well. The second one is digitalization within these shared global challenges. And digitalization is reshaping all business models. It's reshaping the concept of ecosystems. It's reshaping the concept of global communities. But at the same time, it's actually even enlarging the divide between rich and poor. It's pushing for poverty that is becoming so huge that we don't even know how to manage it anymore. And it's not a surprise that at the top of this very chaotic situation, pandemic happened. If we look at the last couple of thousand years, we will see that this was a characteristic of pandemics that already brought down many civilizations, is that it appeared when there was unmanageable situations, where there is a growing disparity between rich and poor, and where we do not have the right control over the communities and what is happening on a baseline in a sense of health and in a sense of relationships. So the third big megatrend, I'm sure that will affect aviation quite a bit, and I see it mostly from the positive side, is space exploration. Aviation used to be on this planet Earth as the most forthcoming industry sector that always delivered the edge technologies, and others started to pick up. But this time, space is the one. And I'm inviting all aviation stakeholders to monitor closely, to work on interdependencies, to work on the connecting points, and to make sure that the transfer of innovation that happen in space technology is transferred to aviation as soon as possible, and to gain the fruits of the invested money in the research and innovation in space environment. The fourth big megatrend I see in consumer behavior and in spending habits of consumers. Especially with pandemic, this has been challenged, and we are yet to see in which direction the consumers will go. But we know already today that those that will be able to really invest in trust, those that will be able to deliver transparency and then pick the right channels for communication, will be the winners of this new situation. So I'm inviting aviation to really have a close look at the behavior patterns and build trust and build transparency models, and that will bring the customers back. And there is the fifth phenomena that is happening, and it's primarily due to the fact that finally the world started to use technology to connect, which are global communities. And these global communities are emerging with their own logic, with their own needs, and aviation, I'm inviting aviation to take a closer look at their behavior. They use technology a lot, but there are also very strong indications that they will travel and they will have a need to connect physically as well. And with these 5 elements, I'm inviting you that we dive deeper into the key elements that I believe will be directly affecting aviation into more details. And again, I will propose to you to take a closer look at 5 elements. First, let's take a look at the green strategy. As I already mentioned before, green is probably the biggest transformative element in today's society, not only in aviation, but in all different areas. There is nobody who could ignore that. And I'm not saying that through our behavior, we will completely stop the climate change, because that's been happening over and over again throughout the centuries. And there were many civilizations that actually faced the fall down because of the climate change. But what we have in our power is that we minimize our impact and slow down and let the natural systems to take place. And then we will have enough time to readjust. What we did is that we speed up these processes so fast that we have a really, really hard time to readjust in time. What can aviation do? If we take a look at the research information and analysis that provided us with the key elements for greenification of aviation, we will see that by far the strongest are 2. One is aircrafts and engine technologies. So we are after new propulsion systems. We are looking for more efficient and more green propulsion systems. And directly related to that, also new sustainable aviation fuels or energies, any other type of energy that could be reliable and could be used for aviation. So I do expect that we will see the biggest shifts right there in this area when we will be talking green. Of course, strong impact have also efficient traffic management tools. They think that they contribute around 6%, and other smaller elements that evolve out of the ecosystem itself. And here, of course, is my direct invitation that be very careful that everything that we do within the cooperative power of ecosystem, because otherwise, if you just act as an isolated entity, of course, you can have a huge effect in your own little world, but then you will cause so much disturbance and nobody else will be able to readjust. So in a bigger scale, you will get negative effects. So this connected to these green technologies and green transformation is, of course, digital world. Here, the cloud solutions have started to emerge already more than a decade ago. Automation has been around for decades, and triangulation, the combination between satellites, Wi-Fi, and mobile communication are really pushing for a completely new business modeling and a new understanding of how the traffic management should be done, how the exchange of information should be done, and everything is moving towards really direct management and trying to exclude everything in a value network that is causing unnecessary disruption and unnecessary costs. So digitalization here plays an important role. And yes, artificial intelligence will be coming in, but I'm already inviting you, make sure that digitalization, including the artificial intelligence, stays a tool, not a goal. because we need to, at the end, serve the customers. Let's be very closely connected with the needs of the customer and understand the true needs, not those that are maybe desired, but those that are true needs, because only for that customers is willing to pay for. And that directly leads me to the third element, which is multimodality. Aviation has been very self-sufficient in the history, and even today we can say that, meaning that aviation is aviation and the rest of the traffic is the rest of the traffic. But what we see now is that on the ground level, the need for connectivity is really growing, and other transport modes are looking for their own opportunities, and they're offering, especially on the shorter distances, let's say up to 500, 600 kilometers, a very efficient solutions. I'm talking about a high-speed train. We're seeing a new transformation in maritime as well. So aviation is here invited to join multimodal family, to join other transport modes and really start planning a seamless traffic solutions, which should be mobility solutions. We're talking about door-to-door solutions. And these need to be inclusive, system-based. An important role here plays a new traffic architecture. So aviation needs to be not only really efficient in its own mode, but needs strong connections with the rest of the transport mode to create a very strong mobility solutions. And we know that mobility as a solution is really making its way to the mainstream, and it's becoming more and more important and visible. And that brings me to the fourth element, which is the ecosystem-based mentality, which is based on integration, simplification, and it's really pushing for innovation on all levels, not only technology, but also business modeling, also social modeling, and also integration with other portfolios, not only transport. And here I'd like to mention an interesting disturbing factor, which is happening within the aviation sector, which is urban aviation. 6-7 years ago, nobody even spoke about urban aviation. We didn't even know the expression use space, and or at least we didn't use it. And all of a sudden, about 5 years ago, that was put on the map. Commission started to seriously work with the industry on regulation. And look how fast this field is emerging. So the big players in aviation, please do not overlook your smaller brother, because it is bringing a positive vibe, an incredible new opportunity for business modeling and repositioning aviation in the overall social structures, societal structures. And I already mentioned that regulation plays here an important role. EU was the first one who set up EU-based regulatory framework, implementing rules, and now it's filling in all other regulatory and standard parts that this new kid on the block can really deliver efficient services. So yes, regulation in aviation is needed and will stay, and it's absolutely an important player. And that's why this ecosystem approach, where you from the beginning cooperate, when you together formulate the idea itself and then in parallel work on its own area, it's a very efficient approach. So instead of linear approach, you take a network-based approach where everybody is working in parallel and cooperating, and then you together define the performance targets, you define the ways of financing, you even can reinvent taxonomy and propose a fair distribution of value creation. And of course, based on that, also generate incentives. But this cannot be done only by one player. This is a story of an ecosystem. So I hope my messages were clear. The 5 megatrends that I offered you to take a closer look at and empower the aviation ecosystem through close observation of these megatrends and through understanding where the opportunities are and where the challenges are, but then dive deep into the aviation sector itself and take a closer look at these 5 key drivers of change. And I'm sure that there are bright skies for aviation, not only European aviation, but global aviation. And I really hope one day I will see my dream to come true, which is not only a single European skies, but single global skies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Violeta, for this very complete and comprehensive presentation, which shows us that issues of climate and environment in aviation are part of a much broader framework of disruption in every aspect. We're going through a period of disruption which requires us to look at these matters in a very holistic way, as they say now. So thank you again. What you've just said will guide our debates over the next 2 days. And of course, Violeta, please stay connected and you'll have possibilities to ask questions or make comments later during the symposium. So thank you so much for agreeing to introduce this symposium.